Welcome to Leading Up with Udemy, your guide to developing your skills as an emerging or seasoned leader. I'm Kelly Schwarz, Senior Digital Marketing Manager at Udemy, and for 7 seasons, I've been working on leading up behind the scenes. Today, I'm excited to bring this special Best Of episode, where we are revisiting some of the most impactful leadership insights from throughout our past 7 seasons, including how to lead from the middle, building a strong company culture, and the importance of continuous learning. First up is Dave Pottruck, former CEO of Charles Schwab. He dives into how humility and patience are key to earning trust when you're leading without the formal title of leader or manager. He unpacks the power of building trust, mastering emotional intelligence, and empowering others to shine. Let's get started.
Well, first, as part of a team, I needed to learn what I call leading from the middle, where you're not the official leader, someone else is the leader, but you are sort of gathering the team around you to take the hill, to take the next challenge, to accomplish whatever it is you need to accomplish. And you're role modeling the behavior everyone else needs to be a part of. You're asking questions rather than trying to answer all the questions so that other people have a chance to also be a part of the process of going forward. And so this leading from the middle before you're the leader is something you need to learn to do to earn, to be worthy of then getting the official title of being a leader.
Yeah. So a lot of people listening are not leaders, but they aspire to leadership, right? So they're there, they're working. And so a lot of what you talked about, I want to know how does that fit in today's organization where it's a matrix organization and you work on all these different teams. You have to influence people from all over the company to just get your job done. This whole idea that you call leading from the middle, like, are there some techniques or some things that you did that people could apply tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. And let me say that I wasn't always good at this. I wanted to lead from the front, and leading from the middle requires a certain degree of humility. It requires a certain degree of patience. But the more I could learn patience to put it in practice, and the more I could practice and embrace humility, then the better I did. If you're trying so hard to be the leader that you sort of jump in front and say, follow me, everybody resents you. They don't want to follow me kind of guy who's not really the leader. They want someone who's asking the great questions and letting other people shine as they answer the questions, helping others promote themselves, enabling others to succeed is how you earn the right to step forward and be recognized. And it's a subtle thing. And as the person actually doing it, it's easy to worry, gee, am I being recognized? But if you have someone leading your team who knows what they're doing, they know who's actually leading from the middle to help that team move forward. And that's how you earn those promotions. And as I started to learn about this more and more, I did better and I moved forward much more easily. But sometimes it boils down to this idea of being a role model and that you want to demonstrate the kinds of behaviors that you want others to exhibit as well. And if that means, for example, even though you now are the leader, you're the leader of a group, and you don't have to ask questions because you already got the job. So now you can tell everybody all the time what you want them to do and why and blah, blah, blah. But the truth of the matter is, you still could ask a lot of questions and give other people a chance to shine. You can role model the kind of behavior. If you want people to ask questions so that they lead from the middle, show them what that looks like and ask questions. Let people on your team stand up and talk about how they came to believe things. Give them a chance to be the leader in the moment. And I think that means you got to kind of put the leader ego in your pocket a little. And this was something that when I became the leader was not easy for me. I was so happy now. Oh, I'm the leader. I get to give all the speeches and say everything and do all this stuff. And part of how I got to understand this was when I became the co-CEO at Schwab, Chuck actually hated giving speeches. And one of the reasons he hated giving speeches was because he was dyslexic. He couldn't even read notes very well. So he always worried about screwing up. So I said to Chuck, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do like what I would call sort of a fireside chat. And you and I are going to sit on the stage together. And I'm going to ask you questions. And you're just going to speak from the heart. And it'll be so much better than a speech, Chuck, because it'll be what you really believe. And everybody will be so inspired by that. He said, okay, I'll give it a try. And so we did that the first time. And he loved it. He loved doing it because he did shine. He is and was a very genuine guy who was really passionate about doing the right thing for the customer. And of course, now here I am. I'm not telling anyone anything. I'm just asking the questions. And everybody respected me even that much more because I wasn't the teller. I was the asker. And Chuck was shining. And I was up there creating that platform for him. And I think that was some of our finest moments together.
Up next is Brandon Carson, head of learning at Starbucks, who explores how a strong learning culture can shape a company. He emphasizes leadership principles like trust, transparency, and autonomy, which foster a critical sense of belonging on teams. As for AI, he believes its role isn't just to make humans better at work, but to make work better for humans, all while preserving what makes us humans and not machines, like our creativity, unpredictability, and adaptability.
So no two companies are exactly alike, but a key differentiator for companies is whether they have what I call a culture of learning. And by that, I mean, do they value the growth and development of their workforce? Do they invest in their people? And this isn't about the company culture itself. It's about whether the company sees itself as a learning company. Does it foster innovation, curiosity, and what I refer to as scalable learning, which is a focus on how the organization can learn faster at scale, which in the age of AI is an imperative. So when a company is not a culture of learning, a transactional approach to training just for the job role is the norm. But as it applies to the broader company culture, I'm a strong believer in the profound impact culture has across the workforce. I've survived challenging ones and I've thrived in great ones. Your company culture impacts every aspect of the company and its performance. It must be nurtured, protected, and carried by everyone at the company. It is the leading indicator of employee engagement, productivity, and the overall success of the organization. But company culture is also a funny thing. It's often hard to outwardly describe, but very noticeable when it breaks down. So the old saying goes that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And throughout my career, I've seen it and lived it. And leaders have a special responsibility to be stewards of the culture, add to it, and also advance it and make their decisions based on the company's values.
Yeah, so let's say you don't have a C-suite title and you don't even have a team to manage. How can you be a good steward of company culture?
Yeah, it's a good question, Alan. I believe leaders have an amplified role to play in carrying the culture, but the company culture is just not in the purview of the leaders. Culture is created and maintained by the behaviors, attitudes, and actions of all employees. Culture comes alive when all employees celebrate the successes of others, or when they listen and support each other in failure, when they actively participate in company events and initiatives, and when employees recognize when culture change is needed, they advocate for that change. So like I said, it's important for leaders to be stewards and to carry the culture, but it's a responsibility of everyone to advance the culture. The principles that matter to me and that I really try to foster in leaders that I develop and that our team develops is really around trust, transparency, and autonomy. I believe those principles foster a sense of belonging on teams, which right now is probably more critical than at any other point in time, frankly, coming out of not just the pandemic that we had, but you conflate that with the tech tsunami we've been under for the last 2 decades and this really exponential advancement of everything going on around us, this fire hose of information, and just to absorb that complexity and the complications that come from that. So these principles of trust, transparency, and autonomy are foundational in a lot of ways to simply being human in this complex world of work. But add to that purpose. So purpose is also a key leadership principle. And purpose at work goes deeper and will outlast the product or service you're creating or selling or business goal you're striving to achieve. Purpose is the why you do what you do. And as a leader, I see it as critical to what I do to help those on my team find meaning and purpose in their work. And it's not always possible, but it's something that people want to feel about the work they do. And I think a lot of that realization or that elevation of meaning and purpose in the work is coming out of the era we're in right now, in the times we're in. And so I find those things to be most likely for a leader to be able to create a condition of psychological safety on their team, which is really important for a high-performing team to be able to come together and deliver on what they need to deliver on. But in this age, our job is not to make humans better at work, but to make work better for humans. So how we implement AI should be in service to elevating the human experience and ensuring that we preserve what is uniquely human, our creativity, our unpredictability, our adaptability, our need to connect to each other. So most work, as we know in the future, will be done in teams. So human connection is the most critical aspect of the future of work. So I like to think of it as we will be tech-enabled, yes, but we are at the inflection point of being tech-enabled and people-led, or the inverse, which is too dystopian to really imagine. So that's why I think every company should have their people practice in the conversation with how AI is implemented across the organization and not just let the tech group or the IT function lead that conversation.
To wrap up, we have Johann Laville, Chief Learning Officer at Merck, who highlights why great leaders never stop learning. Reflecting on his leadership journey, Johann underscores the importance of building trust through effective communication, understanding leadership blind spots, and honing leadership as a skill that anyone can develop. He emphasizes the role leaders play in fostering an environment where others can grow into new opportunities, making leadership an opportunity for all, not just the select few who raise their hands for it.
As I think about my journey and things I had to focus on, there are a couple areas that come to mind. One is just building trust. You have to build trust because just imagine you're trying to take an entire team on a journey with you. In order to build trust, you have to make sure you're an effective communicator. What you will see is a lot of folks who struggle with effective communication, both verbally and written, really struggle with their teams. Now, here's the part that I think is an area that everyone should really think of. That is balancing the idea of task versus people management. There is a fine line between attempting to achieve all of your goals and doing them efficiently and on time versus managing and leading the people and understanding their needs, which you will require in terms of that diversity of thought, diversity of skill to help you as a leader be successful. And then every leader, I think, at some point in their career struggles with this one, and that is managing conflict. And so the idea is, how do you understand, first of all, what is conflict? And how do you develop the skills along the way to understand how to effectively negotiate the idea of managing conflict between team members and also between your peers at the leadership level? Sometimes they actually find it difficult to maybe take in all of the detail required to jump in and jump off the cliff. And knowing what leadership categories you fall in, you understand yourself, you figure out your blind spots, and that allows you to even be a better leader. So I encourage everyone to take some time and just jump in and do a search and just learn about the different leadership styles that exist today. But challenge yourself to continuously improve after you identify your values, right? So I think your values really guide your decisions and actions as a leader. And so even myself, every once in a while, I will write down my core values and reflect on them to determine if they align with the leadership style that I currently rely on. And as I mentioned, even try to understand some of the blind spots I need to cover.
So on the blind spots and charismatic leadership, the way you describe it, it sounds like having a vision, and maybe not getting all of the information. Do you have any advice for building a team or surrounding yourself with people that do they complement your skills? Do they have the same skills as you?
Yeah, if you look at my team today and any teams that I've built, they are extremely diverse. Diverse from skill, thought, gender, race, you name it, right? I think it's very, very important as you become even a more effective leader. Everyone knows what their blind spots are. You put someone in that place to cover that blind spot and you give them the accountability, the authority to help you lead and just become a more effective leader. I do not believe that leadership is limited to a specific group of people. I believe it's a skill that anyone can develop. The question is, as folks like myself who are in leadership positions, how can we foster the environment that we just spoke about? And how can we foster the opportunity for individuals to be able to practice, to hone in on that skill and become successful? Also, something that's very challenging, leadership and the ability to lead people is not something that's readily taught in academia. It's really something that between practice, honing the skill, and also through the lens of mentorship and coaching is something that an individual will develop across their career. When I say leadership for all, it starts with as an individual employee in the company. How do I provide you with the right resources and the right development path so that you determine that leadership is an opportunity for you? But then once you become a leader, how do I onboard you, right? How do I make sure that you are going to be one of the best people leaders from the perspective of, are you able to coach? Can you effectively lead? But myself as an individual, I think it's important for me to create the space where we can foster collaboration. We can provide opportunities for growth. We mentioned leading by example as one of the big opportunities, but we've learned a lot along the way. And I think it's my responsibility to really encourage self-awareness. On a one-on-one, how do we understand the importance or the goals of our employees? And how can we contribute, right, to their developmental journey through leadership?
As we wrap up the season of Leading Up, we hope you've gained valuable perspectives on leadership from all angles. Whether you're learning to lead from the middle, building trust in your team, or creating a vibrant culture that helps your employees thrive. To listen to the full episodes of all 7 seasons, go to our show notes. Thank you to Alan Todd, our Leading Up host, for leading us on this journey of growth and learning. Leading Up is produced in partnership with Pod People. Our original theme is by Soundboard. Until next time,